Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fintech Penthouse at Money 2020 Las Vegas. Yeah, amazing. Everyone, I want you to take a moment to look around this room. This room is powerful, filled with people who innovate and move money in real time. And the women in this room come from a long lineage of innovators, mavericks, troublemakers. Yes. Or a title that we've all fondly earned at some point in our lives. Stubborn girl. Because you see, women have been building in fintech long before fintech was ever a word. ChatGPT would not exist without Ada Lovelace, who in the 1800s became the world's first programmer. And in 1903, Maggie Lena Walker became the first Black woman to open, own, and operate a bank in the US. And she started her own publication, following in the footsteps, creating wealth for her own community. And then in 1944, Grace Hopper invented COBOL. The banking programming language that the financial system runs on today. So when we think of fintech, remember, women built the rails to begin with. And as we enter a new era of fintech, there's another wave of troublemakers following in these women's footsteps. Shanti Shanmugam, the founder and CEO of Kseniya, she's here with us today. All right, in the house. She's raised over $30 million to tackle our industry's most complex and challenging sector, fraud and payment disputes. Yeah. Snaps for that. And you'll be hearing from her shortly. Shilpi Nayak. She in the room? Shilpi? Almost here. She'll be here soon. All right, good. Cheers to you. She's a founder, she's an investor, she's a technologist. And she is working on democratizing wealth management with the power of AI through her startup, GoodFin. Exactly. You can clap at any time during this. This is a good room for that. And of course, Asia Bradley. Asia Bradley, a pioneer in banking as a service, the co-founder of Neobank Kinley, now the VC partnerships lead at Stripe, and of all her titles, you could always just call her Godmother. She likes that, she told me. Which, by the way, Asia is not here tonight because she is sick, but we have an amazing speaker in her place. You'll meet her later today. So, I've really covered fintech through all of these different phases as an author, a journalist, and now founder and CEO of Fintech is Femme. Thank you. And I've seen a lot covering you guys for the last 10 years. I've seen the rise and fall of crypto. There was a few bank collapses there, remember those? I covered the GameStop stock surge and that SPAC boom that happened. But through it all, I've also seen what fintech can really do. I have walked the streets of New Delhi, and I've seen fintech connect small merchants and unbanked workers to the global economy for the very first time in the 2020s. Crazy. And as an entrepreneur and startup founder myself, I've experienced the power of fintech. Because fintech was there for me and my business before traditional banking ever was. And that's through the power of Stripe. Cheers to Stripe. That's why I'm here today. All right. This is what Fintech for Good stands for. So while we gather here at Money 2020 and in this room, yes, we are here to talk about business, obviously. But this room, we're here for more. We're here to claim our legacy. And legacies are built on partnerships. I love a head nod. Partnerships build this industry. And while this industry seems like one that is about transactions, it's actually more of an industry of relationships. And I want to take a moment to shout out an incredible woman and partner who helped bring Fintech FM, Wysh, NAFLI, and Consumer Reports together, and that's Amanda Esteban-Colas. And through working with Amanda and this team, I've learned that collaboration is where capital, community, culture intersect. So remember, these events are not just events. We are building an ecosystem. And at Fintech FM, we are just getting started. 2026 is set to be our biggest growth year yet. The Fintech Penthouse series continues forward next March at Fintech Meetup at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Woo! Cheers to the Fintech Meetup team who made me, yeah, there you are, girl! Cheers to us. We're almost cheersing. Wait. Okay. Wait. For the cameras. And in April 2026, Fintech is Femme continues to anchor New York Fintech Week with the largest summit of the week, including our Leadership Summit and the Fintech Security Summit for the second year in a row. Thank you. And then in the fall, we take ourselves to the West Coast, where we are producing the inaugural San Francisco Fintech Week. Yes, thank you. A week filled with the Fintech Summit, powered by Fiat Growth, the AI Summit, powered by us, and the Fintech Security Summit, among another round of amazing community events, which could be you. So, thank you. And then, of course, we'll close out our year at Money 2020. See you next year here, same spot. Okay. So, once again, thank you so much for being here. And remember, today is about that community. And for me, communities are shared resources. So as we all work together, I want us to just take today and this moment to celebrate everything that we've built, everything that is ahead, and cheers to doing it all together. Cheers. Cheers. Glasses to women building the future of fintech, let us get into a conversation about how we make that future real and accessible for everyone. So welcome to this very special live recording of Humans of Fintech, the podcast where we get very real about the people driving change in financial services. 40% of American adults believe they need more life insurance, representing close to 100 million adults. And tonight's episode is all about Fintech for Good and how innovation can close that gap. And we're joined by the team behind one of the most mission-driven partnerships in Fintech today, Wysh and their nonprofit partner, NAFLI. Recently nominated and won a Money 2020 award for financial inclusion. All right. It says winner on the screen behind you.
I know. Surprise. It's very cool.
All right. I wanted you to catch that surprise.
Thank you.
I know, I saw they won and I was like, change it. Okay. First up, we have Alexander Matjanec, founder and CEO of Wysh, a fintech company rethinking life insurance to make it accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy or well-connected. Joining him is Edwin Endlich, president and chair of the board of the National Alliance for Financial Literacy and Inclusion, a nonprofit launched alongside Wysh to break down systemic barriers to financial education and protection. Woo. Let's go. And rounding out this powerhouse trio is Kseniya Zaslavskaya.
You got it.
Nice.
Queen. Who you could also call her just Kseniya.
Yes.
Who leads business development operations at Wysh and brings a personal mission to every part of her work. Together, they're proving that fintech can do so much more than just move money. It can create a real, lasting impact. Let's get into it. Okay. So, Edwin. Exactly. Let's start with you. You've spoken about the loss of both your parents and how that really forced you to navigate a maze of financial decisions that most people aren't prepared for. What did that experience teach you about the gaps in our system, and how has it shaped what you advocate for today?
Well, every good party, I start with my parents are dead. And I love to talk about
It's
it.
a good opener.
It's like my favorite.
It's like an icebreaker.
Yeah, it's like my parents are dead.
Champagne's working.
Yeah, so my mother passed away, and she was, a female fintech founder, and inspired me throughout my entire life. So when she passed away, it was incredibly devastating to me, and it really coincided with my experience in fintech. Was with her, and I do feel like I am here only because of her legacy, and I was really moved by. During, the end of her life, this is almost offensive, but how comically complicated they made it for her to navigate. And this is a woman who was a brilliant genius fintech founder.
Yeah.
And whether it was the paperwork, the confusion between companies, it was just so hard for her to navigate, and that she would bring me in to help, thinking she was the one who was crazy or just out of it or not tech savvy enough. And I was like, Mom, no, this system is broken.
Yeah.
And so that really inspired me to, work with Alex and the team at Wysh and to form NAFLI to really bring financial inclusion and education to people who needed it. Because I think sometimes we have a picture in our heads of people who need help. And no, it's all
much
of
greater.
us. We all need help with understanding how to navigate a system that a lot of times is set up to deceive you.
Isn't it?
Or to take advantage of you. And I
Right.
saw that with my mother, and that really formed how I got here today.
Yeah. I mean, so Edwin, you also come from a long lineage of fintech female founders. Then.
I do.
Your mother.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Jacqueline Endlich, and she founded Prosperity Financial Services Group with her and her 4 female founders. So they, they are amazing. They just celebrated 30 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Congratulations. All right. I got to write about your mom next. I'll have to just interview you instead. All right. Kseniya.
Yes.
You grew up helping your family translate complex financial documents literally and culturally. That's such a powerful image that I think a lot of us can relate to. Can you walk us through what that looked like and how it impacts your work at Wysh and NAFLI today?
Thanks. I know I don't see
can
you
see you
behind the
from
mic.
I know.
I'll go this way.
It's okay. Yes. So, my family and I moved here. I was only barely double digits. I was 9 years old, turning 10. And everything from, the internet and cable bill down to financial statements and do we set up a 401k? I mean, all of that was the chaotic childhood I kind of had, having to translate these documents that I had no idea what they were. And it really inspired me to kind of look inside myself, and I mean, this is lame, but every hero has an origin story. I'm not a hero, but I think that I relate to millions of Americans who come to this country and they just have to help navigate their families and, make sure that they're leaving some sort of a legacy. And it's between that and also being very close to people who were born, for example, with pre-existing conditions. They could never get life insurance traditional way. And all of these things kind of inspired me to really put in the work to make sure that we're creating generational wealth through knowledge, through literacy. It's not about the money. It's about, do you know how to navigate this path? And how can we make sure that we teach you more?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like this is an experience probably a lot of us have maybe had growing up. And it's a lot to put on children, especially, a family that is immigrating to another country. So Alex, for you've actually built across fintech, from helping consumers compare banks to fractional investing with Stash, obviously a pretty iconic fintech company. And today, Wysh tackles life insurance, which many people assume is just like not for them, right? But what made you decide that this was the next problem worth solving?
Yeah, I think through the 2010s, building those companies, there was a clear focus that was happening, which was, banks were pushing people to open accounts because they were highlighting high interest rates. And so my first company, my bank tracker, was really designed around letting people compare. And 50% of people were very focused on interest rates. And the other 50% of people didn't care about the interest rates. They cared about, well, where are the branches near me? How does this bank think about fees? How does this bank think about other needs? And so that became, and as digital came into the picture, became more accessible and easier to kind of solve. Then you look at Stash, and we really focused on solving fractional shares. How do we allow people to invest for as little as $5, and how do we break in here? And technology was at the core of that story as well, and pushing that forward. And I saw that through from 2008 up to 2020. What was not part of the story was helping people feel protected and be protected. And that was just overall missing from that conversation. And so when the opportunity presented itself to launch Wysh and focus on bringing protection back to that core story, it was pretty obvious that it was necessary when you dived into the numbers. And as you highlighted, many people don't have life insurance. Many people are underprotected. We are a society, unfortunately, that is severely underinsured. And we think that if you can bring protection closer to that need, it will solve it. And as Kseniya's family dealt with, life insurance is one of the only solutions that people will raise their hand, ask for help, and insurance companies will push them away because they're unsurable. Almost 40% of Americans will be denied. We can't solve this problem if we're that way, and Wysh is out there trying to overcome that, and that's what we focus on today.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for doing that. And there is this common thread here of each of you really building out of lived experience. And of course, it's about the market opportunity, but it's really just being obsessed with these problems that I think we've all felt for ourselves and wanting to solve them through the power of technology. I guess, why do you think that lived experience is such a superpower when you are building for financial inclusion? And maybe I'll stay with you, Alex, on that one.
Yeah, I think, one of the most, just to give context of the product that we offer to highlight it. So Wysh gives financial institutions a way to layer micro life insurance into their depository accounts. So as you are growing your savings or you're becoming more connected to their banking solutions, you're unlocking free life insurance. And from a story perspective, it is really, from my angle of just seeing the constant denial that came with traditional products. And the thing that really resonated with me was one of our partners sent us a customer quote where the customer reached in and said, "Hey, I am a double amputee cancer survivor. I will never get life insurance. Are you sure that I get this product?" And the institution was able to say, yes, because you bank with us and we are helping you from a community and all your other loans and financial independence. We're able to kind of give this benefit to you because we care about your protection. And it's like that exact story there that's like, we're going to solve for that and bring that to the forefront. The other story that we see common is, the audience that enjoys our products the most is millennials, right? 38 to 42. And you think about, and I'm in that boat, what have we lived through? Financial crisis, pandemic, extreme inflation. We're lucky to buy our first home by the age of 50, right? And so we've had to learn how to defend for ourselves pretty much our whole financial careers.
Yeah.
And so financial wellness isn't always necessary the need that we have. We know how to do with that. It's just how do we become protected in that story as we're working through this? And the partnership with NAFLI, balances that story really nicely for us.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I do want to talk about that partnership with NAFLI. I love it because it really showcases not just working within the system, but also making sure that you're building new things to change it, right? So let's just be honest. Inclusion still gets treated like some side project for a lot of companies, but you have prioritized it. So how do you build inclusion into the foundation from day one and not just as like an add-on, but an actual strategy?
Yeah, again, I think my history from a story perspective is always about accessibility and using technologies to do that. Now it's just kind of repeating that from an insurance perspective. And I think the insurance world has just been harder because of the regulatory oversight that comes with insurance. And so we had to lobby with state regulators to get this product approved. And what was core to us was to say, the two things I hate about insurance the most is claims and underwriting. And if I could take those things away and still have people feel protected, you could call it insurance, that's fine, but it is the protection element that needs to be in the forefront. And that's the only way we're going to be able to achieve our mission, which is the belief that if everyone feels a little bit more protected, they feel more confident in being able to take the necessary financial risks that exists in our country that you must take to really become financially independent. Take on credit, take on these other forms of investments. We feel that way when we know that in the background, there's stability around us.
Yeah.
So I think for us, inclusivity is coming from a world of stability.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. That is really, really well said and something that is very quotable. So I'm excited about that. Thank you. I'm like, ooh, ding. All right. Amazing. You'll see that in my newsletter later. So, Edwin.
Ask about my dead parents. No? Oh, okay.
Honestly, when I put together the content today, somehow it didn't resonate. The part where I was like, cheers, everyone. Edwin said parents. Okay, it will be the bit of the evening.
I love it.
Look, I'm glad you do because it could have went really south if you didn't. Okay. So you helped launch a nonprofit arm, NAFLI, from inside of a fintech company, which frankly is something I have not heard anyone tell me that they've done. So that's amazing. What was the business case that made you really justify that decision, and how has it paid off?
I think, a big reason why we were able to start the National Alliance for Financial Literacy and Inclusion, which is a mouthful,
Yes.
was the advent of some of this new technology that was happening in the world. And I kind of love the idea of sometimes you have to be sneaky to be good.
Diabolical.
And people to do bad can be sneaky. And they embrace that. But people doing good feel bad about being sneaky. And I'm always like, don't be sneaky.
Yes.
Be sneaky and do good.
Yes.
And I do feel like we were kind of sneaky about NAFLI, about,
Love that.
saying, hey, listen, this is going to be an easy investment. We're going to be utilizing a lot of new tools and we'll be the incubator for some new AI tools and things like that. And they were like, oh, let's use nonprofit organizations as something to help explore some new technology. So we were really sneaky about it. And that's my little hack.
Sneaky link.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Do good, be sneaky would be the t-shirt.
In today's world, it's kind of what we got to do. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
I grabbed my just for that. That was
Well,
really
I'm going to add to that because I think he's cutting it short. Because I think when Edwin did come to me with the idea to be the founding sponsor, bring this to life for him and his team, it was an aspect that on our end, everything we're doing is tool-based and bringing kind of real tangible tools. But there is education. There is an element on the other end that needs to be told. And within Wysh, it just didn't make sense to be telling that story. And he felt that NAFLI could represent that correctly. And it really balanced us in allowing us to bring both elements here, and which is why it's exciting to sit here together as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I actually, something as a journalist and I'm covering the industry as long as I have, I've had a bit of a gripe with fintech companies in general for their lack of education. Or kind of just like there's like a jump to one thing, but we're not giving any context for anything else. So I think you doing it through this like Trojan horse strategy and is incredible. And it's something that resonates with me as well. So, but to bring all this to life, Kseniya,
Yes.
you, it's me. You are in the operations tranches, making all of it come to life. So what are some of the practical ways that Wysh builds for people who've been historically overlooked, and what works, what's harder than people expect? I guess balancing the Wysh and NAFLI missions together.
Yes. So we won this award. The industry recognizes that we need this. And then you have to sit there and say, hello, financial institutions, you need this. This needs to be a top of mind for you as well as your consumers. And I think, and I don't know, and will I get in trouble for saying this sometimes?
I don't know. We're gonna find out. Can we cut it if it goes bad? It's live, so not.
One of the things we say is that this is a benefit,
Yes.
but it should be standard across the board. And I think that's where that mismatch is. It should, let's stop talking about it as a benefit. Let's start talking about it as every single human deserves this.
Yeah, no, I think that is really, really well said, and I love. Sorry, I was
Not in trouble.
approved.
so approved by
It can
me.
stay.
Does Alex approve? Okay, can stay, not cut. So I mean, and I love that, and I think I guess were you thinking of creating that new standard in a way when you were like, we're going to do this through a fintech and a nonprofit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like Alex said, sometimes you can't fight kind of both battles on the same front. And so like we can't say, you need this as your added value for your financial institutions. But also, can we also teach your consumers about financial literacy? Yeah. And there's just, you got to pick a lane. And I think that creating NAFLI, and I'm so blessed to be part of that as well, is just the out of the box thinking that comes with a fintech essentially, because fintechs are created or were created as solutions
Right.
to the problems.
No, they were absolutely. Alex, so this work is really all about tearing down those barriers that really gatekeep wealth building and that stability level, right, of tools. So when you're thinking about life insurance today, what are some of maybe still the biggest myths or misconceptions that you're really wanting to shatter with Wysh?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, when it comes to getting the financial institutions on board, is showing them that they can do good and be profitable at the same time, right? I think it's something where they're like, well, this is an expense, and like, am I going to see the return on it? And being able to prove to them. And we're excited that our early moving partners are seeing that. And I think on the other end, it's very clear, and I honestly, this is probably the biggest aha moment that happened for me, is that financial institutions really were not focused on helping their customers feel protected. They, a common comment I hear all the time is institutions will say, hey, our customers choose us, or our members choose us because we're stable. And I said, that's amazing. What are you doing to lean into that? Right? Because after they sign up, you're then moving immediately into non-stable types of products.
Right.
And I think for our perspective, it's just showing them that this American protection gap is important to them. They need to address it. And they are seeing it, but it is back to this point of education and training them. And I think that this is clearly becoming a movement larger than us as an organization can do. And I am excited that NAFLI is seeing other parties much larger than us wanting to sign up and pledge and be committed. And I think that's what's going to be necessary for us to reach what Kseniya had, which is this is not just a benefit, this is how we standardize things.
Yeah. No, I love that. And actually, for you, Kseniya, because there is that cultural mismatch which we've talked about, right? Of traditional finance and the communities that we're trying to serve. And then for some reason, thinking inclusion isn't profitable, even though it's quite literally the pathway to profitability. I have decided to dedicate my career to convincing you all that that is the case.
Thank you for that.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Thank you. Hey, I'm doing a good. Okay, great. It feels like we're doing a good job. So I guess for you, what's one thing that you wish more fintech leaders understood about building something that is focused on that trust factor and not just about that shiny new feature?
Yeah. So one of the things that we say when we go to conferences or we speak to financial institutions is that we're a B2B to C. Like the ultimate goal is to make sure that the humans that you are servicing are covered, are protected, and are loyal to you because they see that you're looking out for them and for their future. And so, to communicate that and to make sure that they're understanding that, I'm a mom. Community is everything. So for them to understand that, there's financial communities that could be built, especially rural or smaller banks, financial institutions, that's what they need. They need people talking about, they're thinking ahead, they're thinking for me, they're thinking for my next generation of kin. And that's exactly what we need to kind of make sure that comes to the forefront.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And there's just a massive opportunity out there because there's so many people that are just so underserved. To capture that market opportunity is huge. And it sometimes feels crazy that we still have to educate and do the thing to get people in these banks to understand that. But thus, fintech exists.
Well, I'll add to that. I met with a very large bank today during the conference, and we started talking about agentic AI and other elements, and they're really nervous about it from a perspective of becoming commoditized, and allowing the platforms to kind of determine. And one of the things the banks already recognize that is when it comes to loan, that's one product we're the least loyal on. We're like lowest rate. I don't care what the name of your product is. We're buying yours. All right.
Right.
And so they feel that this will consistently happen. Okay, so what's going to differentiate you then? How are you going to be building a relationship with them when people are able to move money through it? And the stable coin and these things are only making it faster and easier. But with decentralization and the speed of tokenization, there is trust and human touch that needs to be brought to that story. And so I am excited, as much as we're pushing this movement and this level of trust, that the industry and these other innovations are kind of forcing them to also think this way because they're losing their advantage.
Yeah, no, and the technology and AI and everything, it's all in the blockchain, it's all just getting faster. And so I spoke on stage yesterday and I was at the On-Chain Summit and I was interviewing the CEO of Uphold and then the former CEO of CoinDesk. And they were like, Gen Z is going to be the cultural movement of the blockchain adoption. And I was like, exactly. Yes, they are. But it's just fascinating to see them, catch up. Anyway, so Edwin, one of my last few questions for you. If you could change one industry mindset that still holds us back, what would it be?
I think I'll just stay on theme of the be sneaky theme. I'm just going to own that. As part of my brand for the evening.
Yeah. Stick to the bit.
Yeah, is that I really do think when you set out to do good things, you cannot be a little sneaky about it. And I feel like I'd love to change that mindset. And some of it is about being sneaky about changing what you call your not-for-profit, what you call your community initiative. Is it about audience expansion? Right. Things like that, things that will get the leadership to say, I love that idea, and sometimes you have to kind of push yourself to be a little sneaky, to do great things out there. And I do want to change that misconception that only bad people can be sneaky. Is that weird?
I know it's not, because it's happening in our world all around us.
Yeah.
And actually, Edwin, it's resonating with me, because frankly, if we're gonna get real before we wrap this section up, we have a criminal in the White House, y'all. Like,
We're off site right now. We could say anything.
this is Fintech FM. This is not Money 2020, okay? So, sorry, y'all. Like, I don't know what to tell you. The rules? What rules?
Yeah.
All right? Like, I've decided to throw the rules out the window and say, you know what? I'm going to build this thing and do it better and make a lot of money and make it good and put the money in my community's pockets and create that resource and that ecosystem. And exactly, like, to me, that's the best course of action forward, right? Because the whole idea of what's going on right now is to get us to stop. Is to, like, if I just doom scroll long enough, then my anxiety increases and I do nothing. And then I do nothing. Good. Nothing is bad. Very, very bad, okay? Like, do something, right? Like, inaction is exactly what they want from us. So action is the best way, welcome in, is the best way forward. So yes, Edwin, I'm with you. So, like,
Thanks.
if whatever you got to do to bring the good into the world and put your action into place, do it, right? Because there are no rules anymore. There's just moving forward, right? Yep. I love it. All right, so we are going to wrap up here. One last question for all three of you. I want you to share just one moment in your work that really made you stop and think, holy shit, we're doing it. I'll start with you, Alex.
Oh, no. I wasn't ready for this question. I think from my perspective, it was once, we went to the regulators who, have never innovated anything. Insurance is a non-patentable industry. You cannot patent things in insurance. 160 years, no changes, and going there and be like, we're going to throw everything out that you used to use to determine who you give this coverage to, and we're just going to give the coverage to these people because we know they need it. And you're going to trust us that we're not going to go out of business, and we're going to stay solvent and do these things. And I think at the end of the day, and when they said sure, and they gave us the green light, then I was like, all right, well, now we got to make sure we don't go out of business here.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to set back this whole industry another 100 years if they take one risk on us and it goes bad.
No, so true. I feel it in the media side as well. How about for you, Kseniya?
The awards speak to it. The fact that, we're up here with you, Nicole. Thank you so much for featuring us.
Yeah.
And, just kind of seeing all the people in the room and seeing the head nodding and seeing all the people who stop by our booth and can explain our product back to us is lovely.
Yeah, that's nice.
Honestly, it's like, it's such an elevator pitch. Alex has been on stage and done like a 3-minute demo, and he's like, but I have 15 minutes, so do you guys just want to go get a coffee? And they're like, yeah, because we get it.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will continue to resonate and more financial institutions take a risk.
I feel that. It feels really good to, even with Fintech FM, like, get to a place where I'm having to do a lot less explaining.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, yeah, I understand this completely. This is correct. Yep. We do sneaky things. We do whatever. Yeah, like, got it. Yep.
We are women.
Yeah, we're women. We're really, like, we literally make more money than anyone else. So, yeah, okay. Okay. Love it. We're all on the same page here. What about for you, Edwin?
I would say definitely a transformative moment was when we met Amanda Esteban-Colas over here. I would definitely say that was the game changer for us at our not-for-profit, when we actually convinced someone on the inside who had every connection that we dreamed of to believe in us and to join us on this journey.
Yeah.
And we always just say we're only here because of Amanda, so we love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
And that
Thank
is
you.
why we're here, for sure.
We are largely here because of Amanda. It's true. You picked a good one.
I
You
did,
picked
I did.
and she picked you back. Oh, and we all really wouldn't be here without her. So thank you. Well, thank you so much. Please join me in thanking Alex, Edwin, Kseniya for your honesty, your leadership.
Thank you, everyone.
Your showing. Thank you, Amanda. Yes. All right. All right. We're just going to set up for the next session, and I will see you in a second. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Welcome, everyone, to Humans of Fintech, Part 2. Yeah. All right. Well, we are all here, Pop, because we believe fintech can do so much more than just move money. It can move people forward. And each of you on this stage has taken a really bold path into this space, and for completely different reasons. But I'm excited to dive into those. But at the end of the day, as we've kind of shared before, fintech has always been about rewriting the rules. But right now, we're kind of in this moment where the old systems clearly aren't working. The new ones are currently being written in real time. And that's kind of what makes this conversation so exciting, because leaders like you are the ones who are writing the new rules. So I can't wait to see the world that we build together next. So let's get into it. Now, to just quickly address the elephant in the room, which is that the godmother of fintech, Asya Bradley, is not here with us because she is sick, but standing in her place, doing an amazing job, is Erica Woods. Yes?
Thank you.
Now, Erica Woods is Stripe head of U.S. state and local public policy. She's been at Stripe for 3 years, working across the 50 states with legislators and regulators working on fintech issues. And before Stripe, Erica worked for Meta on Capitol Hill and for the Obama administration. Those were times. We miss Dad. Okay. So I actually, Erica, I actually want to start with you. I was going to start with Asya, but earlier when Erica was so kindly and graciously willing to step in for Asya, I was like, what do you want to talk about? And she was like, well, I mean, I really like talking about what's going on in DC, but I mean, it's cool if you don't want to do that. And then I was like, I'm a journalist. Like, gimme, because that is not happening on the other stage. So let's do it. I want to start with you largely because, we're in this in-between era. Mm-hmm. AI is reshaping everything again.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of lessons from fintech's first era that we should carry forward. Yeah. But there's like a lot we should leave behind. What are the things we should keep with us and leave behind as we just write this next chapter?
Yeah. So I'll just give, obviously, Asya's not here. She sends her biggest regards. So I'll be the spokesperson in her stead and hopefully do her proud. A little bit of background about me, because this is a side of the fintech space that not a lot of people have a ton of visibility into, which is the public policy side. I think a lot of companies, they're focused on growth, they're focused on business and clients, and policy tends to happen when something bad happens. That's when policy becomes important. And so often I tell companies, think about it proactively. Know them before you need them. So when, not if, when you need them, you'll be ready. And so I was a traditional lawyer. I was interpreting the law. I was helping clients apply the law. And then I had the opportunity to go to DC and learn how the laws were made. And going to DC, it was supposed to be a short stint just for the Obama administration, and I was there for 10 years. I caught the DC bug during a really magical time, as it's been alluded to, and I never left. And I worked on Capitol Hill, helping lawmakers come up with concepts that impacted businesses in this room. And then I went in-house to help companies understand how to interact with those stakeholders. So I'll say something that was actually hinted at by Alex earlier.
Yeah.
My job is to meet with regulators and legislators on a monthly, sometimes weekly basis about concepts impacting businesses. Oftentimes, they have a great idea, and sometimes I'm a Southern girl, I'm from Tennessee, I get to sit them down and be like, bless your heart. What a great idea. That's not actually how it works. And it's such a great opportunity to be proactive. I'm going to use the secret L word that people don't like to use, but it was used earlier, lobby. We've got to lobby. And I know it comes with a lot of ickiness, especially in DC right now, because there's some lobbying that's building a new ballroom. That's lobbying. But there is, if you get, especially down to the state and local level, you're really interacting with people that want your companies to be successful, and they want to figure out how to balance that regulation with innovation. So I would pull forward being proactive. Don't wait for something bad to happen. Don't wait for policy to be an afterthought. really be proactive because it can completely change and shape the trajectory of your idea, your company, and moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so well said, and I look forward to digging a little bit further into that. The fun part is that I do not have questions written for Erica, so those will just come up. I know, because they were written for Asya, and they do different things. So I'm just excited to see where this goes. A little off script, but I want to go to you, Shanti, because you built Kasap in one of fintech's toughest corners, as I said before, payments disputes, and you've really turned it into a growth engine. So what I love about that is that you saw an opportunity in a space that everyone else ignored. What made you see potential where others only saw problems?
Oh, that's such a good question. So before I started KSAP 3 years ago, I was the second product hire. I know it's like get your case done ASAP. That's
Got
how I
it,
came up with
KSAP.
it. It's like very simple. But I was the second product hire at Robinhood. So I was there 2017 through 2023. My first product was crypto. It was like wild. Like talk about trying to figure that stuff out. And then I was just like, oh, okay. Like the only people using Robinhood are like day trading stock bros. Like where are my women at? Like why aren't they investing? So I spent a lot of time thinking about how do we make Robinhood? How do we actually truly democratize access to finance? I was doing everything, not payment disputes. I didn't even know what a dispute was when I started working at Robinhood. But then GameStop happened. And post GameStop, we lost trust with like 25 million people, like overnight.
Yep.
And the team had called me. I was like one of the longest tenured product people there. And they're like, Shanti, we need to fix this. You know, what feature do we need to build? What product do we need to launch? And I was like, like this is a relationship, and a relationship is anchored on trust. We need to build back trust. So I launched 24/7 phone and chat support. And then when I started looking at, well, what are the situations where people just lose trust in their institution? And that was this dispute. I was like, what's a dispute? It's a world where you see a charge on your account that wasn't you and you're freaking out. Or it's a world where you ordered this beautiful couch, this mid-century modern aesthetic couch off of TikTok. This actually happened.
True story.
True story. And it shows up, you paid $2,000 for it, but it shows up and it fits a Barbie doll. And you're like, this is why we can't have nice things, right? And at this moment, you're just like, you're nervous, right? And you're just like, oh, does my financial institution have my back, right? Because that's what a dispute is. It truly is. I'm in the business of trust. I'm in the business of providing financial peace of mind. But the reason why it's so hard is that ever since COVID, there's definitely been a little bit of an abuse of that trust too. Right. So like last holiday season, 35% of Americans filed disputes on legitimate charges. And there's concepts like wardrobing. You know, you buy a dress, you maybe keep the tag on, then you return it later. There's folks that buy really expensive skincare products. It's like my new thing. I'm like so into skincare now. But they'll buy it and then they'll return it with like yogurt and they'll get like a $500. It happens, right? So that's not everyone. It's a few folks. But again, that's why we can't have nice things. So the thing that got me into this sort of underbelly of payments is just thinking about how every financial institution is trying to do the same thing. They're trying to win our trust, right? They're trying to win our primary financial relationship. But what stands in that way are these moments, these like make or break moments where it's like, are you going to show up for me or not? And how do we just introduce trust as like the default? Right. And that's the future I want to build. I want to build a future where trust is a given, that like these stories that I'm talking about are like, what? That actually happens? Like, oh yeah, that was like way back when it was like 2020. Like what? Right. So that's what I got really excited about. So that's what got me into this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, really, really incredible story. For you, Shilpi, now you left big tech to build a startup with a bit more intention. And now GoodFin is opening access to private markets once reserved for the ultra wealthy. So in a world where traditional finance is losing relevance, but the new model just hasn't really fully been formed, why was this mission really personal for you?
Yeah, so I had worked for Google, Akamai, and a lot of big companies, scaling to billions of users for years and decades. I felt like a purpose was missing in that scale, and I wanted to bring those solutions out in the world. At the same time, me and my family and my friends were early investors, and we were doing a lot of due diligence ourselves during the time, and we got early into Robinhood and Headspace. Also, my husband was working for Tesla. So we spotted these trends very early on because we are very big on technology and Silicon Valley. We want to shape how the future looks like of tech in the world. And then after Google, as we know now, it's more relevant now than that it was at the time, that private markets are growing really big, right? The companies like OpenAI and SpaceX and KSAP are staying private more, and then a lot of other folks want part of it. Like they want to be, and they should be entitled to get an access opportunity, which was initially behind the doors of, ultra wealthy or only accessible through the wealth managers. So we set out to solve this problem, making it more personalized through our AI systems and understanding what users want to do, and giving the access that we had once without all that work that you need to do along with your job. So that's how I got into Goodfin.
Yeah, nothing like leaving those golden handcuffs to be an entrepreneur. I'm sure that was I'm sure.
Highly recommend.
I'm sure. Highly recommend as well. My handcuffs were not so golden. Anyways, I'm a journalist. Okay, so Erica, you mentioned lobbying earlier, so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because Stripe really is an. Were you there at the beginning when I did the toast and I shouted out Stripe? Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I mean, it's because it's a true story. It's the backstory there is that when Anton and I were making one of the biggest investments in Fintech is Femme, which was our 500-person leadership summit at the New York Times Center earlier this year. Thank you. We, we were taking a big risk. We walked and we're a less than 2-year-old startup. We'll be 2 in December. Woo, birthday. Woo. Thank you. And we decided to physically get dressed and walk into credit unions and banks branches to apply for business loans. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter our revenue, our growth, none of that, because we weren't 2 years old yet. But then ticket sales came in and the sponsorships came in, and Stripe saw all that activity and offered us the line of credit.
Yeah, which is our capital loan product.
Oh, I love her. Yeah. She's good. So Stripe fundamentally helps, startups and founders like myself grow and get off the ground. So I guess from your perspective, I think things like lobbying it can be like a buzzword for folks, like something that doesn't move the needle or what have you, even though we're watching it move the needle in other ways, like Fall Room, like you said. So I guess, how are you thinking of that is that something that the founders at Stripe works with?
Yeah.
Have to think about it all. Like, how is that a factor in Stripe and how you're kind of advising or working with your startup ecosystem?
Such a great question. So Stripe has a set of operating principles that applies to every employee that enters the door. And I learned about them even before coming on. I've been at Stripe now 3 years. It was even a part of my interviewing process to know that these operating principles are something that will be instilled with anyone. Our very first one is users first. And so when I approach problems, especially with regulators and legislators, I'm thinking about our users, not Stripe's bottom line. How is this product or how is this concept going to harm the products that we're giving to our consumers? And so I think capital is a great example, because we're using underlying transaction data to do the underwriting and the loan structure for young, small startups. Many banks probably wouldn't even do the paperwork for some of the loans they need. You're talking sometimes less than $10,000 that they need for inventory just to keep it going. And there's concepts across the states that would hinder our ability to use some of that underlying data to extend that type of capital. And so when I'm going in, I'm having to educate people on the capital product because they just don't know. They think lending, banks, brick and mortar, and that's just not, Fintech has been innovative in how they approach serving users. And I have to let them know that, no, we're not just taking credit card payments. We're actually keeping people's lights on, especially in a COVID era when it really mattered and banks would not touch them. And so that type of lobbying, honestly, it makes my job easy. I don't have to think about what's good for like the big guys in the room. I'm really thinking about our users.
And I guess with the, I was just like, how's it with the current administration?
Oh gosh, it's tough in some ways, and I think everyone kind of knows like the crypto era that we're in, and it's really hard to pass legislation in DC. So the fact that the Genius Act, which is like a stable coin kind of regulatory framework, made it across the line in the first 6 months is legendary. So in some ways, when people rally together, you can see the benefits. But in other ways, you see like the CFPB that's kind of hanging on by a thread, and we're seeing like countdowns of we're in honestly weeks, not even months, of potentially not having like the bureau that protects consumers. So it's push and pull. I definitely can't turn on CNN as much as I used to. I do have to unplug a little bit from the bubble, but maybe I'm inspired too, because I will say politics can be cyclical. Next year is a midterm year. And that means that the House can be completely changed. And so while it's challenging, I know that you're only a couple of months or one election cycle away from having completely different changes.
Yeah, no, we love optimism.
I got to, right?
I mean, girl.
Otherwise,
Otherwise, we're going to melt. I'm with you actually, and thank you for sharing that perspective, Shanti. Now, we are talking a lot about this trust element, and I think it kind of leans into this like push and pull element as well in this in between moment that we're in. So, we've talked about earlier how trust in these traditional institutions is really just at this all-time low, and technology is really being asked to rebuild that trust. So what does that actually take and look like to design systems that people trust again?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, we have the same value too, which is users first. And I think that like when we anchor it on that person's experience, when they're like, oh shoot, I have rent due at the end of the month and someone used my card to buy a TV at Best Buy, I'm freaking out. When you kind of anchor in like, okay, well, how do we take care of this person, right? How do we make sure this person can tell their bank that this has just happened without needing to wait till Monday morning when the branch opens, right? So that's one thing. It's like, how do you actually modernize some of like the institutions that are the backbone of our country to really come into this era where I can just buy things on Amazon and return it to, right? It's like from my phone 24/7. So that's like one thing. But the other thing is we actually do, no matter how archaic our financial systems are, we actually have a lot of data. And like when you can actually figure out, whoa, this person doesn't usually buy TVs at Best Buy at 2 a.m, 2 states away, you can, one, maybe not let that happen, but also two, if it does, take them at their word, right? Like give him his money for rent. He needs it, right? But I think what's hard is like everyone's nodding here. We're like, yeah, that sounds right. Let's do that. It is so hard to put that in practice. Like I started KSAP 3 years ago. My entire first year was building integrations into these archaic systems so that I could actually go to a credit union, a regional bank, and say, hey, like I was at Robinhood, my co-founder was at Chime, we built some of these experiences. I could bring this for you too, even though you don't have a legendary engineering team, So it's really about the brass tacks of like understanding where we are today, having the optimism, you can bring them to the future, and just having like the grit to just like close your eyes and just get through it until you're there.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think about, right, so trust has really become this like new currency in our industry. Do you think with this new wave of innovation, i.e. AI, that was fun for me to do, is AI helping us earn this trust back, or is it testing it even more?
It's such a good question. Trust being the currency of fintech is literally one of the talks I do. But in this talk, I actually do talk about how AI, it's a very big hammer, big hammer meet someone looking for a nail, like just like stable coins and crypto. We're all trying to find these use cases and people are trying to make fetch happen. It's okay. But I think it's like, yes, the fraudsters use AI. It is so much harder to tell if it's actually that person or if it's a deep fake. And it's actually like so scary to see some of this stuff. But then, like, we're using AI to actually be like, okay, like, there's this poor person at the bank that's dealing with this onslaught of all of these dispute cases, and they really just want to help this person that can't make rent. But for each person that can't make rent, there's 5 people replacing their skincare with yogurt. Okay, how do we figure out who's who and make it so that this person could do what they want to spend their time on, do what they do best, which is investigate and have empathy, right? So it's really about, I do think there's a world, and we're using AI to scale the human touch. But it's anchoring on that. Do people use it for bad things? Absolutely. But I believe good will prevail.
Yeah. This is fintech for good.
Yes.
Today, this evening.
Not evil.
Not evil.
Not evil.
Yes. Unless you, I mean, be sneaky about it, right? Like be, whatever you got to do, be sneaky, be not sneaky, whatever you have to do to be good, just do it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And for you, Shilpi, what does true financial empowerment on your end look like in this era defined by AI and personalization and access? Because before I started Fintech FM, I was the wealth tech reporter for Investment News. So I've covered a lot of it's why I my publisher, I think I had the day off when GameStop happened, and my publisher calls me on my cell phone and he's like, no, you don't. And that was it. He's like, you're the Fintech reporter, get on it. And that was it. God. And I just for weeks and weeks was covering this thing from all the angles possible. And so I know how the wealth tech space needs a lot of work, and we haven't seen a ton of real innovation there. There was robo-advisors, yay, and then and people are still trying to make robo-advisors happen, and they're kind of happening and kind of not at the same time. But then also there was the Robinhood, and you were an early investor in Robinhood, and then Shanti also worked there. So there's still such a missing piece. So I'm just curious, for you and building GoodFin, how are you making that true financial empowerment just real and different and really accessible?
Yeah, so following the theme for AI for good, right? We are leveraging, and what does the empowerment really mean? Financial empowerment really mean is basically intelligent access, not just access, especially the private markets that we operate in. They are so opaque and complex. So with AI, we help them unlock and understand more of these deals, very specific terms, and that is more underlying complexities, unlocking that. But not only that, we are also looking to personalize the journey of a user. So you could be someone who's interested in or who is for climate, and then someone can be interested in investing and diversifying on female founders or for generation wealth. So we kind of take all of these preferences and your goals into account and build a financial partner for you, which gives you opportunities and these highly curated opportunities, which were initially reserved for ultra wealthy individuals, and provide you access for your generational wealth, plus community. So we have this community of people who give their feedback and their insights for all of these deals that we have on the platform, which we unlock and provide this collective intelligence to users. So coupled with their personalized journey, intelligent personalized journey, and helping them with decisions, investment decisions, questions on these deals, and also collective wealth, I think that is empowerment, true empowerment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the wealth tech space has a lot of work to do in terms of that educational piece, right? I mean, we talked a lot about that with the NAFLI and Wysh crew, and I do think wealth management could use a lot of work there. So that work that you are doing to create real community and education around that is massive, because if the GameStop stock surge taught us anything, it's that we have a massive financial literacy crisis at our hands.
We do.
That frankly is not the needle on that is not being moved nearly fast enough. So I do kind of want to talk a bit about AI, largely because I had a question for Asya on it, but I'm going to actually ask Erica instead. So one of Asya's quotes that I had here is that she said, "Fintech built the rails and AI will become the conscious of it." Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, like from the policy perspective, how have the discussions around like AI times financial services been in DC? How like polarizing or not has it been?
It's not.
Okay, cool.
Artificial intelligence under this current administration is not a priority issue right now
Okay.
in DC. And so what we're seeing as a result is that trickle down into the states. The states are seeing that because there's a lack of like a broad sweeping comprehensive understanding of AI across the federal government, that they can take it upon themselves to introduce like large frontier model legislation for their state. So we actually just saw Colorado and California pass pretty comprehensive legislation that impacts large models for deployers and developers of AI. How that impacts fintech is twofold. In some ways, fintech was not top of mind when they thought about some of these concepts. They're thinking like the Chat GPT agentic AI uses, not like we've got a radar product that's detecting fraud in real time. And so us using that millions of times per day now is getting looped into some of the concepts that they want to overly regulate. And so in some ways, these concepts are stifling some of the innovation that a lot of companies are creating. And so we're having to go in and educate them about how fintech is using AI in ways that they're not comprehending or thinking about when they come up with these concepts, because they want to protect consumers. And so that's why I kind of mentioned earlier, you really got to lean in, because there's just these unintended consequences that you're able to kind of quell if you're just transparent and have an open door policy with them.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess how how have the founders on your end been responding, I guess, to the when it comes to the regulation element? I mean, the U.S. is one of the most complex because of the federal versus states.
Yeah, it's tough because Europe's always ahead of us. So when it comes to privacy, when it comes to AI, a lot of the larger companies have the convenience of already applying and adhering to the European standards, like GDPR and some of the AI standards. So in the US, we're already at that high level. So we don't have to do a lot of moving around to be in compliance with these patchwork state-by-state models. But smaller companies, they don't have 50 people compliance shops and lawyers everywhere. And so they really do come to Stripe, and we also proactively say like, hey, there's new regulations coming out. Here's how it's going to impact your company. Here's how we can make it easy for you to comply. And so we definitely take an onus on ourselves to like help our users where we know they don't have a policy person to fly to Denver and educate them about their products.
Yeah. Wow. All right. There's such a through line here with this education piece. It's quite interesting to me. And I'm going to shift gears just a little bit as we kind of close out here. But I really did want to ask you, Shanti, about just CASAPs.
Case app.
Case app.
Get your case done ASAP.
Guys, I've been working on like to not do the hard A, and now I have to do the hard A. So American. Case app. I love it. Okay, so you've grown Case app's ARR, raised millions, cut fraud in half, and built partnerships with massive financial institutions. And you've done it all while staying very values driven. Before we get out of here tonight, I did want to ask you what advice you had for founders who want to scale without losing sight of their original mission, because clearly there's a lot on our plate from having to like deal with education and regulation. And luckily there's a lot of collaboration and partners, right? Like you all that are helping in that, but still it's a lot to deal with. So what's your advice for just navigating it all?
Yeah, I guess personally, like when I decided to leave Robinhood, like I really enjoyed being there, and I really felt like I was part of making that company what it was. 6 years, great. So, and I knew I also wanted to start a family, so that's also like a personal aspect. But I was so compelled with this world I wanted to create. Like I want to create this world where trust is a given and fraud's a fraction of what it is today. And you tell our kids and their kids that, oh, did you know like fraud used to happen? Like what? No way, right? So like I'm so obsessed with like creating this world that's like better off than before I existed or before the company started. And I think that has anchored so much of like the choices I've made and the personal sacrifices I've made. I do have a 15-month-old, but she's at home and I'm here and I'm on the road 15 to 20 days a month meeting a lot of these partners and these institutions, because sometimes hard conversations or confusing topics, you just need to talk about it face to face. Can't get around that. So from a perspective of how have I, raised the 30 million or grown the ARR and, built the company while being values conscious, I actually want to bring it back to what Erica was sharing, which is like being so anchored on this vision and like our customers first. And like I never actually tried to raise the money. Like I'm so privileged to say that I was preempted. Like pretty much someone came to me, they saw what we were doing, they were like, take money. I'd be like, oh, that happens? That's great. I'll take it. But I what I've noticed is when you just focus on doing good and, building a good business, like you want to exist, right? Or else that's not doing anyone good. But as long as I've focused on doing good and bringing the right people onto the mission and staying anchored in this overall mission, great things have happened.
Yeah.
Lots of hard work. Definitely some rejection here and there, but mostly good things. So I'm just going to ride that wave of luck.
Yeah, no, I luck and hard work, of course, laying the building blocks to have that kind of luck. So then I will ask, 10 years from now, what do you hope your legacy will be, and how will your work really just redefine how people experience that trust in financial services? Clearly, one day we're all going to laugh and be like, remember digital fraud?
Fraud? What?
Who's fraud?
What? Fred?
Fred?
No, truly, like a world where fraud's a fraction of what it is today and trust is a given. Like we can trust each other again. Like how nice would that be? That would be so clutch. So yes, that honestly, that's the world, right? That's like the big vision. But I also think how we get there matters, right? Like I think, for example, one of my first employees is going to go on mat leave, and I was really excited to give her a generous mat leave policy for a Series A company. That is cool, right? Like I wish more companies would do that. I think just like, being so cliche, but being the change that you want to see in the small ways and the big ways, I think is the future that I want to create. And even though my daughter's maybe not going to remember this phase of the life, like, her friends would not know a thing about KSAP. Maybe her friends' parents would, I don't know. But she would be proud of who her mom was and like what her mom was able to do.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I love that. And I actually think you gave one of the most killer pieces of advice, which is when you just focus on doing good and good work, then the money follows, right? And it sounds simple and it sounds woo-woo, but it's really true. And it sounds like it doesn't come with a lot of hard work, but everyone in this room knows exactly how hard it takes to do that. And so it happens. And I think that we're all doing it collectively together. So and I think that's really, really important and a important pin to have as we kind of leave tonight. Shilpi, one thing I really wanted to ask you before we wrap up here was that you have this like knack for spotting innovation waves before they break, clearly, right? Being an early investor in Robinhood and Headspace and so on and so forth. So when you look ahead now, what's this next big shift that is coming that we should all be bracing for? And how can we position ourselves to lead it instead of just chasing it?
Yeah, and that's probably the greatest question. Right?
I've been getting that a lot today.
You were just great, Nicole.
Thanks.
So my investments with early stage companies and what we facilitate through GoodFin as well, I think the key is understanding what humans really are gravitating towards before it's mainstream. So when you actually know it's very visible, that's actually a little bit late, I would say. So the next big thing, in my opinion, will be more agentic systems, fintech systems that provide users more agency, more personalized experience, more trusted experience at scale, right? But also, I think the interfaces are going to change quite a bit. Instead of clicking through or searching, you are going to embed yourself and how you make decisions, how you make money decisions, how do you make learn about systems is going to be very different. Interfaces are going to look different. The reason I invested in Robinhood and Headspace is because my friends and family saw that wave coming, and they were like, we couldn't live without it. And we saw that Robinhood is not just trading platform, it was an access that was provided for so many, and that's what probably resulted in GameStop as well. I traded, by the way, for GameStop.
I couldn't. That was the problem.
So yeah, I think the future belongs to the founders who really listen and catch what's important to humans, and they're experimenting, what's driving them, what's pissing them off, and stuff like that. So it's just that's probably the key. Yeah.
Yeah, being obsessed with the problem and the process and not necessarily the results that happen. I'm learning that myself as a founder. It's such a...
And agentic AI, I'll just throw
Oh,
it
that
there.
too. Right. And agentic AI, everything. Yes, agentic AI, everything. There'll be agentic AI, there'll be no fraud, and we'll have a new political era. Please, God, inshallah. Yeah, okay. Final question, and I'm going to give it to you, Erica. So if you could write one rule for this new financial system, the optimistic one that we are creating, what is something that every founder and policymaker had to follow? You made the system. What would it be?
A new rule?
Yeah.
I'm going to cheat
Okay.
a little bit. And I'm going to say it should be the implementation of an existing rule that's in flux. And it's around open banking and access to data, your data, my data, and who owns it and how much they're charging for it. That is really in flux. And it makes so many of our concepts, our innovations work. Being able to offer loans and detect fraud that you did not purchase that TV at Best Buy. I mean, all of that, it really hinges on all of our companies being able to use and access data. And that is kind of in flux because of CFPB. So they're currently hopefully writing a rule that will make those rules of the road more clear. And I think having some clarity on that will be really, really helpful for a lot of companies.
Yeah. No, I mean, you said a big one there. Open banking. It's been like a Bravo show, the whole thing. So, I mean, I've been following it, and it's been like this. I'm like, okay, I have to wait sometimes and let
And the show might get canceled.
I know. And I'm like,
but it's like in a good season.
like, yeah, like mid-season.
Like, I want another season. Why didn't you cancel my show? It kind of is. I like it.
No, it is. It's like they said this and then they said this. Canceled. No way, come back. Yeah, it's been nuts. But I'll continue to cover in the Fintech is Fun newsletter. So no, I love it. All right, fine. To wrap up, one last question for each of you. In one sentence, if you could leave this room with one piece of advice for building in this in-between era, what would it be? It can be super fast and quick. Shilpi, go for it.
Yeah, for building in between, I would say build for the world you want to see as opposed to the world that you have inherited.
That was a good one.
No, that was so good. So good.
So good.
Okay, fine. All right. So to piggyback off of that, yes, the world you want to see, but understand why the world is the way it is today, because we can't change something we don't understand. So that would be my piggyback on that.
Erica, take us home.
I'm going to go with network and pay it forward. The rooms that you're in really matter. People are looking at you that you don't even know are looking at you. So get in those rooms, be an example, and pay it forward. Bring someone along with you.
Love it.
100%. All right, everyone, please join me in thanking Erica, Shanti, and Shilpi. All right. And now, please, for the remaining of our friends here, drink the rest of the champagne so I do not have to take it home. And if you loved this conversation, be sure to, this is still a podcast, so someone's going to listen to this later, to the tune of like 100,000 people. So just, you never know who's watching. If you love this episode, please subscribe to the Humans of Fintech podcast. You can get this conversation anywhere that you love to listen to your podcast, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Humans of Fintech. If you loved it, be sure to hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.